ND filters are the key to getting really nice cinematic footage from your 04 Pro Air units. Now, ND filters are important on all drones, but they're especially important on FPV drones because we're flying fast and in close proximity to things. So we need to use them so we can get that sweet motion blur, which is going to take our footage to the next level. And on the 04 Pro, ND filters can actually also help to reduce jello, which can come as a result of really high shutter speeds. And the thing is, they're actually really easy to use if you just know a few basic things. I'm going to tell you all of those in this video, and I'm actually also going to compare a few different ND filter options that we have for the 04 Pro because some are definitely better than others. So first up, let's talk about a few different ND filter options and sort of the evolution that ND filters have been on for the 04 Pro Air unit. So when it first came out, basically the only option that was available to us was ND filters from the Avata 2. Now, because the 04 Pro Air unit is very similar to the Avata 2 camera, you can use Avata 2 filters on the 04 Pro. Going the other way is a little bit more tricky. See, some 04 Pro filters like these iFlight ones won't fit the Avata 2, whereas the Freewell ones will. So it just depends on the design of the filter. So we had the Avata 2 filters, which are okay, but for a lot of frames, they're actually not going to work, and that's because I have one here. The Avata 2 filters are actually quite wide. So when you try and put them on a drone where the sort of front camera cage is quite close to the camera, you're not going to be able to get them to fit. So in that case, we needed some more specific 04 Pro filters, and iFlight and GepRC were sort of the first two to bring some ND filters to the market. Now, I got an initial batch of the first set of these iFlight filters, and to be honest, they were absolutely horrendous. I couldn't physically get them on the camera, and some people who did actually somehow manage to get these on with the force of 1,000 gorillas then were unable to get them off. Now, I know these were the same with the GepRC ones, and I heard reports from a guy, actually got some messages from him where when he was trying to take the filters off of his camera, he actually broke his 04 Pro camera trying to get the filters off. Now, iFlight heard this, they responded, they updated the filters. This is one of the updated filter sets that I went out and bought, and they are much better. They're still pretty tight to get on and off, but they're much better than the initial ones. You can at least actually fit them and remove them. I can't really speak for the GepRC ones. I haven't tried them. They might have updated them as well. If somebody knows, please let other people know down in the comments below. But yeah, one thing I really dislike about these filters is the fact you get a really horrible color tint when you're using these filters. So what you're actually going to see is on the left and right hand side of the image, you're going to see a purple tint that starts at the edge and slowly dissipates towards the center of the picture. Now, for me, that's quite unacceptable. It means these filters just aren't using very high quality glass, and color tint like that, once I'd seen it in my footage, never going to be able to unsee it. Really wasn't happy, so I went back to using the Freewell Avata 2 filters. And luckily, somebody must have heard my prayers and my cries at Freewell, because Freewell have now announced and launched some specific 04 Pro Air unit filters. And these guys always knock it out of the park, and they've done exactly the same here with these guys. First off, let me give you a quick disclaimer. Freewell did actually send these filters out to me for free for review. I've not been paid in any way for this video, and my thoughts are completely my own. And because these guys were actually so good, I was so impressed with them off the bat, I went out and I bought 2 more sets with my own money. So yeah, put your money where your mouth is. These filters are awesome, and I'm so happy I picked up a couple of extra sets. So I've got spares plus some for my other drones. But what do I like most about these filters? First of all, the size. These are actually really small filters. They fit exactly the same profile as the 04 Pro camera, which means basically they're going to fit into any frame. Also, because we don't have any filter spilling out from the edge, there's no possibility of sunlight leaking from the back, which can give you some horrible reflections, which can happen when you're using the Avata 2 filters. Basically, sunlight can get behind the filter and reflect back onto the lens, which is going to give you some unwanted results. So the fact that these fit really nice and flush, they're closed off, there's going to be no way of light to get in behind the filter, and Freewell, as always, really nice high quality glass. The only thing that I have noticed is you are going to get a tiny bit of vignetting in the corners of the image, especially if you're shooting in 4:3. Now, this is only visible in your unstabilized footage. As soon as you apply any kind of stabilization, this just vanishes. So there's nothing really to worry about from that perspective, but if you do notice that while you're flying, that's just completely normal. Now, you will also see some vignetting in the corners if you're shooting in ultra wide with no stabilization on, but I'm not sure why you would do this because you can't stabilize that footage afterwards. But if you're shooting in ultra wide with Rocksteady on, then you won't see any of those bits in the corners. Okay, so that's the evolution that we've been on with ND filters, but what do ND filters actually do? Well, ND filters are basically just sunglasses, but for your camera. Now we have to use them because our drone has a fixed aperture, it's an f2.8, and we need to use ND filters in order to reduce the amount of light coming into our sensor. But wait a minute, don't you want the most amount of light coming into the sensor for the best possible image? Well, in some situations, yes, but in this situation, we're trying to achieve the correct shutter speed so that we can get natural motion blur in our footage. Motion blur makes our videos look more like what we would see from day to day with our own human eye. So if you wave your hand in front of you, it sort of blurs around as it goes from left to right. It's not a fully crisp image. Now, I understand for people doing racing and freestyle, maybe they don't want motion blur so they can see a bit more detail of what's going on around them, but for cinematic filming, it is a vital piece of the puzzle. First of all, let me explain shutter speed for you so that you get a good understanding. So on older cameras with a mechanical shutter, the shutter speed is basically how long the shutter would stay open to let light onto the sensor for each frame of the video. Now, shutter speed is measured in fractions of a second, so a lower number after the slash means that the shutter is going to stay open for longer, giving you a brighter image and more motion blur, and a higher number after the slash means that the shutter is going to stay open for less time, giving you a darker image and less motion blur. Now, we don't have a mechanical shutter on the 04 Pro, we have what's known as a digital shutter, and it basically does exactly the same thing. It just turns on and off the sensor at the speed required to let light be registered by it. So to achieve natural motion blur, we need to follow the 180-degree shutter rule. Now, that shutter rule states that our shutter speed should be double the frame rate that you're filming in. So most of the time on the 04 Pro, I'm actually filming in 60 frames a second, which means that my shutter speed should be 1/120, which is double my frame rate. Now, if I was shooting in 30 frames a second, I would want a shutter speed of 1/60. Again, that's double my frame rate. But if I put those settings into my camera, we can see here that the image is way overexposed and completely unusable. Now, this is the situation where we would use an ND filter, pop the sunglasses on, and that's going to reduce the amount of light coming in so that we now have the correct exposure whilst maintaining those optimal settings for natural motion blur. If you follow that principle, you're going to get natural motion blur in your footage, and it's also going to stop everything from being over sharpened and also help to reduce jello, which can happen on this 04 Pro camera at really high shutter speeds. Let's say that you want to achieve more or less motion blur. How do you actually go about doing that? Well, if you want more motion blur, then what you should do is reduce your shutter speed. So if you're filming at 60 frames a second, you can actually go all the way down to 1/60 to get the most motion blur possible. Now, at this speed, things can start to look a little bit mushy, so I don't recommend that you go this low, but if you do want to, then you can. And if you want to get less motion blur, then what you want to do is increase the shutter speed, so make the number after the slash bigger. So instead of being at 1/120, you could go to 1/200 or 1/240. This will still help to reduce the jello, but it's going to take away a lot of that motion blur too. Another benefit of a higher shutter speed is it can yield slightly better results when doing stabilization in gyro flow. Me, personally, I've had no issues getting really nice stabilized footage using 1/120, 1/100, and even 1/80 as a shutter speed. As long as you're flying nice and smooth, you should get pretty decent results. And like I said, I've had no issues with gyroflow stabilization at those lower shutter speeds. All right, so now let's cover the best camera settings that you can use in order to make the most out of those ND filters. Now, first off, you're going to want to be shooting in manual camera mode. This gives you complete control over all of your camera settings and ensures that whatever you tell the camera to do, it's going to do it. So first of all, you're going to want your ISO as low as possible. Generally, I try to keep it at ISO 100 whenever possible. I will push it to 200 or 400 if needed. I try and stay away from 8 or 1600. You can still get decent results at ISO 800, but for the most part, in the middle of the day when there's good light, try and keep it at ISO 100. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I'm shooting in 4K at 60 frames a second. 60 frames mainly because it's a better flying experience. If you want to convert your footage from 60 into 30 frames a second in post-production, it's pretty easy to do that, but actually flying the 04 Pro system at 30 frames a second is a god-awful experience, and I don't recommend anybody does it. So we're going to shoot at 4K 60, which then means we're going to want to follow that 180-degree shutter rule. Our shutter speed should be 1/120. Now, in the middle of the day, we're going to want our white balance set to somewhere around 5,500 Kelvin. Again, make sure this value is locked. We don't want any white balance color shift going on during our shot. Now, if you're shooting closer to sunrise or sunset, then you can increase this white balance value. I tend to go somewhere between 5,800 and 6,000 Kelvin towards those times of the day. So the next thing I'm going to do is shoot in the 4:3 aspect ratio. What this basically does is utilize the entire sensor, and it gives me more flexibility in post-production if I want to reframe things for vertical or for horizontal, and just getting the biggest image that I can possibly work with. Now, it also does help a little bit with gyroflow stabilization, but basically 4:3 is the way to go. Shoot in the wide field of view. Basically, if you're shooting in the ultra wide or the normal field of view, you can't stabilize that footage in gyroflow in post-production. And in order to get the best results, you are going to want to use gyroflow afterwards. So make sure you're shooting in the wide field of view profile, and make sure that EIS, your electronic image stabilization, is turned off. If it's set to rock steady, then you're not going to record any gyro data, and we need gyro data to stabilize in gyroflow. Then I'm also going to be shooting in D-Log-M for the most dynamic range and the most flexibility with my color grading in post-production. And pretty much that's it. We're all set and ready to go. So those are all the best camera settings to use. I'm now actually going to head off to a slightly more scenic location, some beautiful rice fields nearby, and I'm going to show you a full run through of using these ND filters. And I'm also going to show you a comparison between motion blur and no motion blur, so you can see exactly what we're trying to achieve. Let's head out. Okay, so it's a bit later on in the day now, and as you can see behind me, we've got lush green rice fields. Unfortunately, there was a massive rainstorm that just came over, and we still got pretty sort of grayish skies above, but I should still be able to show you a full run through of using these ND filters and the differences between motion blur and no motion blur. So I've got the drone sat down right there. Let's go and get it set up to use these filters. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just make sure that all my camera settings are where they need to be. So let's go into the goggles. So I'm just going to push up on the stick and check everything is where it needs to be. So I've got ISO 100, shutter is 1/120 because I'm going to be shooting at 4K 60 frames a second. Now MM is basically giving you a real-time exposure value readout. So this is showing an MM value of 2.3. And what that basically means is the camera thinks that the image is about 2.3 stops overexposed. Now you can use this to your advantage when picking an ND filter, because basically the camera thinks that a value here of 0 is perfectly exposed. So if you're getting a negative value, you're underexposed, and if you're getting a positive value like this 2.3, then you're overexposed. So we're aiming for 0. If in doubt, I always tend to err on the side of being slightly underexposed, because it's always easier to lift exposure in post-production. So we'll look at that when we go put an ND filter on, but next I'm going to look at my white balance. It's at 5500 Kelvin, middle of the day, and it's locked. Aspect ratio 4:3, 4K 60. Camera field of view is in wide, so I can stabilize this in gyroflow. Auto ISO limit doesn't apply because we're in manual ISO controls. Recording stabilization is turned off again, so I can use this in gyroflow. Color profile D-Log-M, and I've got my color display assist on so that I can see in full color as I'm flying while still recording the D-Log-M footage to the quad. So as we can see here, we've got a pretty overexposed image. Look in the clouds. Me, I'm not that badly overexposed, but when you look in the clouds, it's looking pretty bad. So let's get out an ND filter and have a look to see what's going to look the best. So let's have a look. Let's first off check an ND8, because it is a little bit of a duller day now. Let's just have a look and see what the ND8 looks like. So I popped it on, popped the goggles back on, and now let's go back and have a look at that MM value. Now it's actually showing an MM value here of negative 0.3. Now for me, that's actually pretty good, because like I said, I'm happy to err on the side of being slightly underexposed. Minus 0.3 is perfectly fine. I actually usually record at around minus 0.3 to minus 0.7. One thing to note when putting these Freewell filters on, you do have to be a little careful. There's only this tiny little tab here at the top to hold onto, and it's very easy to get a fingerprint on there as you put it on, but they give you a nice little microfiber cloth, so if you do get a fingerprint on there, you can just clean it off before you start flying. Now, before I take off, I do want to take a minute just to say thank you to the guys at Freewell for sending these filters out to me. I've used Freewell filters for years. I use them on everything, Mini 4 Pro, Avata 2. I even use them on my phone right now to record through. Yeah, I love Freewell filters. They're always really nice, high quality stuff. So thank you to the guys there for sending them out, and I will leave links in the description to where you can pick these filters up. They are affiliate links, which means that if you choose to buy the filters through those links, I get a small commission. It's just Freewell's way of knowing that basically I sent you, and yeah, it's just a little bit of a thank you on my side of things. But if you don't want to buy these filters, don't buy them. Anyway, so let's get the guy up in the sky and see what the difference is with ND filters on and off. Go. Okay, so first off, let's just have a quick look at the vignetting in the corners. You can see here it's really not that bad, but it is definitely noticeable, so I needed to mention that for you guys to see. But like I said, as soon as you stabilize this footage, you're not going to be able to see that anyway. But yeah, let's get into some low passes over the rice so you can see just what it looks like. Now you can see actually here from the rain, we've got a bit of a Willy Wonka's chocolate river going on here. But yeah, okay, let's have a look at some passes. So as you can see, as we get nice and low over the rice fields here, we get a nice blurring of the rice below us as it's coming past the camera. This is that natural motion blur that I'm looking for, and this is exactly what ND filters help us to achieve. We can also see here as we pass over the tree and over the tin roof how they blur nicely as they come past the camera. Now we can see some clips shot with the ND filter taken off, and to compensate we had to push the shutter speed all the way up to 1/2000, which has a massive effect on the presence of motion blur here in our footage. And you can see here as we go past the rice, none of it is blurring, it's all super sharp and it just doesn't look as cinematic. The same goes for when we pass over the tree and over the tin roof. Again, they're just super sharp and there is no motion blur in the footage. I'm now going to run these clips side by side so you can better see the effects of an ND filter and motion blur in the footage. So you've now seen what an ND filter can do for you when it comes to controlling your camera settings and improving the quality of your footage. In my opinion, they're absolutely vital. I know some people out there just flat out don't like motion blur, and if you're one of those people, then hey, I'm trying to convert all of those people, but if you can't be converted, then you know, as long as you're happy, it's all good. Now, another benefit of running an ND filter is that it's an added layer of protection in front of your camera lens. So if you have a crash or something, the filter is going to break first rather than your camera lens. Unfortunately, Freewell don't actually currently have a UV filter, which is generally the filter you would run if you just wanted to protect your lens. But if enough of you want it, maybe they'll hear and maybe they'll produce one for us. Just as I was about to post this video, it looks like Freewell has actually changed the design of these filters slightly, and it should make it a bit easier to get them on and off without getting any fingerprints. And going by Freewell standards, I'm pretty sure these are going to be just as good as these ones were. Whether they'll fit on the Avata 2 as well, I'm not sure, but I just wanted to update you on that because I noticed that as I was finishing up editing this video. If you have been enjoying this video so far, then consider signing up to my free weekly newsletter where I give you the latest drone news, hot tips, and a little bit of a behind the scenes look into what's going on in my life. You'll have seen that I got these filters a little while ago, and you'll have known that this was going to be a video that was coming up in the future. It's completely free to sign up to. I send it to you every single week, and I'll leave a link to that in the video description. And I've also started work on a cinematic FPV course, which will take you from a beginner or intermediate FPV pilot all the way up to a cinematic genius capable of capturing all of the shots that you've ever dreamed of. So if you want to sign up to the waitlist, I'll leave a link to that in the video description where you can get all the latest developments on the course and even first access when it eventually goes live. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more content like this, and if you enjoyed this video, you're also going to enjoy watching this video right here, and if that one doesn't speak to you, then maybe this one will instead. Thank you again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.